Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is it. This is the season finale. Welcome at Autodrom Most in the Czech Republic for the very last race of the 2022 season of the Eastern European TCR Championship. It is all going to happen today. It is all going down to the wire because the championship battle, the battle for the title, is still undecided. And it can't be more closely fought than it actually is, because we have got the two championship contenders split from one another by 1 point, a single point dividing them in the championship standings, and a single position splitting them on the starting grid. They will be sharing the road together, and they are Bartosz Groszek and Petr Semerád. Well, welcome on board. We are about to see the last race of the 2022 Asset Cup Series, and basically the, well, not Asset Cup Series, but the Eastern European TCR. Cars already prepared on the starting grid for the last one. And of course, the grid order is decided by the results of yesterday's race number 1 here at Most, with positions reversed. And the draw yesterday was pretty harsh to everybody because the number that was drawn was 10, and that means that the maximum possible positions get reversed in this race. And that also means that Radim Adamek will start from pole in his brand new Audi RS3. Maybe not exactly the position he enjoys the most, but still he's got the chance to shine here and on his home soil, and he will start the race from P1. There he is on the starting grid in his grid slot. But what is, of course, more important is the championship rivals. We only have 2 of them left. Up until yesterday's race, it was still also Petr Čížek in third, who had at least a theoretical, mathematical chance to win the title. And even though he did really well in the qualifying and in the race, he is now out of the championship contention. He finished yesterday second on the road by, well, behind his teammate Petr Fulín, who is back in the field for this one. And Petr Fulín dominated yesterday's proceedings, having won the free practice and also the qualifying by some margin, and then disappearing into the distance. As he said himself, he doesn't really know when he can be behind the steering wheel again, how quickly, if ever. And that means that he simply decided to enjoy it to the fullest in yesterday's race, and that's why he built quite a lot of a gap to everybody else. Then he started feeling certain upcoming potential technical issues with the car, so he simply decided to do the last laps gently and simply bring the car home, which he did. And he won with nearly quarter of a minute of a gap on the road from anybody else. It was Sebastian Steibl holding on to second for quite a large portion of the race yesterday, up until he made a small error and let Petr Čížek and Bartosz Groszek through. Petr Semerád followed pretty quickly after that as well, and that means that Sebastian Steibl came home 5th on the road, and that also means that he is going to be starting from 6th today. So, on the front row, we have got Radim Adamek and Vít Smejkal, the 2 teammates, albeit with completely different cars in completely different liveries, but they are prepared by the same Additis Racing team. On the second row, Žarko Knego and Adam Řepecký. Behind them, Václav Janík, Sebastian Steibl, and then row number 4. That's the one in which we are mostly interested in, because we have got both championship contenders slotted in that one. This is Václav Janík on row number 3, but row number 4, that is Bartosz Groszek, and alongside him, Petr Semerád. So, in yesterday's race, there was a fierce fight for third between the championship contenders. Petr Semerád was coming from behind, and, well, the championship contenders made contact in the opening chicane of Autodrom Most, and that resulted in them fighting door to door in the following couple of corners, and Petr Semerád did make it through. There were protests, some of them might still be ongoing, so still the results from yesterday's race are unofficial, and they might still be decided a couple of days after this weekend. We hope not. We hope that whatever we see on the track today is going to be the valid order, and that the championship is going to be decided in a clean fashion. Well, in a dramatic fashion, yeah, surely, but in a clean fashion and on the track. Either way, Bartosz Groszek was entering yesterday's race with 2 points advantage over Petr Semerat, but as Petr Semerat finished further up the road and 1 place ahead of Bartosz in third, while Bartosz was fourth, that meant 3 points difference in Petr's advantage, and that means that he jumped Bartosz Groszek in the championship standings, and it is now the Czech driver on his home circuit leading the way, heading into the very last race of the season by a single point. So it is Petr Semerat at the top of the standings with 169 points to his name, and then this guy, Bartosz Groszek, with 168. So a single point difference between them, which basically means for us a comfortable situation, because we do not have to do any complicated maths. Simply, in most of potential cases that can be the outcome of today's race, whoever finishes ahead is the 2022 champion. So it is all going down to the wire. This is where it all ends, and we really hope that this one gets properly exciting. We want to see dramatic fights, exciting fights, but of course mostly a clean fight for the title glory. It's been a beautiful season up until this point. We've had a number of different winners along the way. We started the season in April in Hungary, where we also had a couple of basically guest drivers. Yannick Motorsport fielded 4 cars back then, as Mathieu Homola and Joachim Galash, who was also my commentating partner for yesterday's race here. They were getting ready for their European TCR campaign with the brand new Elantras, and they entered the opening race. It was actually the season opener. The race 1 in Hungary was won from pole by the erstwhile championship leader Bartosz Groszek, and then in the second race it was actually Joachim Galash scoring a victory before leaving for the European TCR. Then came Red Bull Ring, and we had Patrick Zing, the guest driver, taking a victory in the opening race of the weekend, and then Milenko Vukovic in his Vukovic Motorsport prepared Renault Megane taking victory in the second race. So we had 4 out of 4, and then came Poznań, the Polish round, and the first victory for the main rival of Bartosz Groszek. It was Petr Semerat on the home soil of his title rival. He took his first and so far the only victory of the season, and in race 2 it was Bartosz Groszek scoring the home glory and sweeping the race with the victory to his name. So 25 points for Bartosz Groszek on his home track. Then came Grobnik. That was, of course, if you've been watching the season, then you'll know it was actually shadowed by a tragic accident on Saturday evening in the endurance race that cost the life of a track marshal, and that's why the Sunday's program had to be cancelled. So that means that only one race we saw during the Grobnik round, and that one was won by the 2019 Eastern European TCR champion Milovan Vesnic. Bartosz Groszek back then started from pole. However, he made a terrible mistake at the start, and he dropped all the way down to the last place. But from there, he staged a beautiful catch-up fight and worked his way through the rest of the pack, and very nearly scored the victory, only to be stopped by the highly experienced Milovan Vesnic, who simply exploited his track position to the fullest and didn't let Bartosz Groszek through. So that was a victory for Milovan Vesnic at Grobnik. Bartosz Groszek had to do with second. Petr Semerat was third back then. And then came the penultimate round of the season in Slovakia a couple of weeks back, and we had another guest driver. It was Mathieu Homola, the local star during the Slovakian Grand Prix weekend, who took part with the Elantra prepared by Yannick Motorsport. And Mathieu Homola scored a couple of victories. He basically took a full sweep of his home event. This is actually what happened the last time out in Slovakia. And it was Mathieu Homola in his Hyundai Elantra who took pole and then also victory in both of the races, together with fastest laps. So that was maximum points for the Slovakian driver in that round. Regarding the championship rivals, Petr Semerád was second twice, Bartosz Grosek was fourth and third on the road, and that resulted in the dramatic and, let's say, very close situation where the both championship contenders came to Most with just 2 points separating them from one another. Neither of them got a particularly good qualifying. Bartosz Grosek was fourth on the grid for yesterday's race. Petr Semerád had a big crash with Vít Smejkal. They didn't really understand each other properly on the road while preparing for their fast laps at the beginning of qualifying, which resulted in a big crash and a massive damage to the i30 of Petr Semerád. So Janík Motorsport guys had to work a long and intense shift right before the first race yesterday, and they actually finished all the checks and all the preparations just 2 minutes before the pit lane got open before the race, so just about in time. Also, it was actually even helped by the fact that the whole schedule yesterday was slightly delayed by delays in the earlier races of Euro Series NASCAR and Truck Racing Championship. But most importantly, the Janík Motorsport team made it, and they put Petr Semerád on the road, into the car, on the grid, and Petr rewarded them with a fine drive from last on the grid all the way to the podium, and he also fought hard and won the battle with his championship rival Bartosz Grosek in the process. So right now they are heading into the absolute season finale here at Most, with just a single point separating them from one another. Petr Semerád in first, Bartosz Grosek in second, 169 versus 168 points, and everyone now ready on the starting grid. There's Steibel Motorsport guys, car number 23, and then in the distance, back there in the background, that's Janík Motorsport team, and Petr Semerád, the car number 68, Bartosz Grosek, car number 97. Behind them on the grid, the couple of fast Cupras, so they will be actually making their life ever more complicated. We still have 3.5 minutes left before we set off for the formation lap here at Most. But Petr Čížek, who was second on the road yesterday, starts in 9th in his black and red Cupra Leon, and alongside him his teammate Petr Fulín, who made his appearance here in Most, or has been making the appearance here at Most, and he dominated qualifying, he dominated yesterday's race. He will be hungry for more on his home track in race number 2 as well, so we can definitely expect him to be moving further up the order in today's race. Well, we had a chat with both of the championship contenders today and yesterday. Of course, we had discussions about the incident that occurred in yesterday's race, because there was a slight contact in the first chicane of the track. Bartosz Grosek was defending from the inside into the right-hander, and then Petr took the opportunity in the second part of the chicane into the left-hander corner. However, Bartosz Grosek, as he believed he was fully ahead of Petr Semerád, he simply took the racing line. Petr Semerád actually thought the other way around, and he thought that he already was on the inside of Bartosz Grosek, and his view was that Bartosz simply shut the door on him in the left-hander. Either way, that resulted in a contact between the two, which unsettled the Audi a little bit, which made Bartosz Grosek make a poor exit out of the corner, and that put Petr Semerád into a fighting position. They then ran alongside each other all the way into the third and fourth corners, and then the racing line for Petr Semerád, became the inside line for the next corner, and the Czech driver simply used that to his advantage and took third in the process. Bartosz tried to fight back, however, his Audi is lacking top speed compared to the i30, so in the remaining laps of the race, he was no match for Petr Semerád, and had to settle for fourth. But right now he has got another chance to make it right for himself, as he is starting one place ahead. I was also asking the drivers what is the difference between the left-hand side and right-hand side of the grid, if there is any noticeable difference, let's say in the asphalt cleanliness. No is the answer, they are pretty similar to one another. Also, what is important to say that after Slovakian round, Bartosz Groszek is carrying extra 10 kilograms in the place where the passenger seat should normally be in the car, so right alongside the driver. Petr Semerád is carrying 20 kilos, so 10 kilos more than Bartosz. That's also an important thing that needs to be factored into the equation that is going to decide today's race. Racing under the backdrop of Hněvín here at Most. Everyone is now ready for the formation lap to start. So with the reverse grid order, we have got the, let's say, slower drivers on paper towards the top end of the grid now, and the fast chargers at the back. So we are definitely bound to see some good overtaking, some good fighting, probably even some hits and bumps here and there. Hopefully nothing too dramatic happens. And right now we are headed off for the formation lap. 4,212 meters, that is Autodrom Most, the Czech track in northern West Bohemia. And the cars are now making their way. This is probably the most important part of the track, at least from the start point of view. Petr Semerád in a small drift there already. He was having trouble all through the race yesterday, because after that crash in qualifying, his car was not actually 100% okay, and he did enjoy a couple of sideways, even a couple of rally moments in the process. But in the end, he managed to take third in the race and move himself up into the championship lead with one race to spare. So this is the track, Autodrom Most, 4,212 meters, or let's say 2.6 miles if you will. And the opening chicane is probably the best overtaken opportunity. Then it's all tight and twisty, and this rather narrow track snaking through the scenery of old coal mines and the Most city. 21 corners, so it is challenging. That there isn't really much space to rest. So it's going to be intense 25 minutes that are now dividing us from knowing the brand new name of the Eastern European TCR champion. We are currently at the end of the 4th season of the Eastern European TCR, and so far we have seen 3 different champions, and we definitely are going to have a 4th different one, because neither of the current championship contenders is on the list of the winners so far. So in 2019, as already mentioned, it was Milovan Vesnic in the Audi RS3 LMS, prepared by his own ASK Vesnic team. Then in 2020, that was the COVID year that only saw 4 rounds happening. It was Serbian driver Dusan Borkovic victorious with a full clean sweep. He won all of the races back then in his Hungarian Mira Motorsport team. And last year we saw a wonderful fight between Michal Makeš and Tomáš Pekař, so a Czech fight all the way until the season finale that then handed the title to the earlier mentioned or aforementioned Michal Makeš in the Michanek Motorsport prepared Cupra Leon. And that car, specifically that car, is now in P2 right now, in the hands of Víc Mejkal. And we are now getting ready for the season to start. So it's now already here, and we are about to start the season finale. And away they go from the start. Radim Adamek making a good start there, and immediately driving off into the distance. Žarko Knego moving up into second in the process, as Víc Mejkal spun his wheels a little too much, and up until second goes Václav Janík. That was a little bit too optimistic, but he's through. Bartosz Grošek trying to defend his position, and crucially, Petr Semerád currently staying behind him. Radim Adamek is already in the gravel, exiting the opening chicane, so he is now dropping all the way to the last. And through goes Václav Janík into the race lead from Žarko Knego. Bartosz Grošek already up into third. Petr Fulín now making his way up into fourth. So these are crucial moments also for the championship. This would hand the championship title for Bartosz Grošek, but this is still just the opening lap of the race. So let's not jump to conclusions just yet, but this is now looking good, at least in the initial phase for Bartosz Grošek. So Petr Fulín there in P4, behind them Sebastian Steibl, and we have got Petr Semerád in P6. He's also made a couple of places, but he's trailing his main championship rival. Bartosz Grošek immediately making a move on Žarko Knego for second in this race, and he is now trailing only Janík Motorsports, Václav Janík, the team boss basically, and Petr Semerád still down in sixth. So this is going to get exciting. Bartosz Grošek really using the opening lap of the race to the fullest. Petr Fulín lining up for a move on another current generation Cupra Leon, making their way around the last two right-handers. Petr Semerád down the inside on Sebastian Steibl. He's now up to fifth. So Petr Semerád in the fifth place. Petr Fulín still behind Žarko Knego, but he's lining up for a move. They are now finishing the opening lap of the race, and along the pit straight they go. Down under braking, Petr Fulín making a move. That was textbook stuff from the Czech driver, and he is now up into third. So Václav Janík leading from Grošek and Fulín. Žarko Knego in fourth, but Petr Semerád is immediately trying to follow suit, and he's also getting racy there, and he's already up ahead. Žarko Knego, there might even have been a slight contact. We might want to have to look at that again. Definitely Žarko Knego was jumping off the racing line in the last moment, and as a result he is also falling down behind Sebastian Steibl. So Václav Janík leading the way from Bartosz Grošek, Žarko Knego third, Petr Fulín fourth, Petr Semerád fifth, Sebastian Steibl behind them. Okay, so that's still the live timing being a little ahead of the schedule there. So Janík leading from Grošek and Fulín, Semerád up to fourth, Knego down to sixth, also behind Sebastian Steibl. In the remaining positions we have got Tomáš and Adam Řepecký behind one another. Petr Čížek still stuck in ninth, behind them Víc Mejkal and Radim Adamek, having made a gravel trap excursion early on in the race. He is now at the back end of the field. So this is the end of lap number 2. Václav Janík leading. But look at this. This is shaping up to be very interesting. Bartosz Grošek, he was even gesticulating on Petr Fulín. Petr Fulín lining up for a move down the inside. And side by side they go into the opening chicane. Petr Semerád trying to see what is there for him to be had. Petr Fulín moving up into second. He's definitely not really interested in any of the championship fights, and he simply wants a clean sweep of the whole home event for himself. And he's now on the mission, trying to catch up with Václav Janík, having just overtaken Bartosz Grošek. And now we have got the championship contenders right with one another. So this is going to get interesting. Both drivers told me that they want the championship to be decided in the clean way, but at the same time you could sort of read between the lines that, okay, if the other guy is going to do some nasty games, then I'm just going to respond accordingly. So what is going to happen in today's race, I really do not know. And the championship rivals are now really driving directly behind one another, taking a fight for P3. Petr Semerád already making a move. but he was not in the position to make the decisive move. But now they are moving alongside each other again. Still, Bartosz Groszek managing to cover off the attack of Petr Semerád, who's now trying to move around the outside into the last two right-handers. There is Václav Janík driving very slowly because Petr Fulin is now through into the race lead. So Petr Fulin leading the race. Václav Janík was really slow there, and he might now play a key role in the championship decider. This is really getting interesting, and Bartosz Groszek already taking a defensive line into the opening chicane. They are now lining up for another move. Petr Semerád taking the white line, and it's now very similar to yesterday, but there was no contact this time out, and Petr Semerád is now still remaining in fourth, while Bartosz Groszek is really now trying to catch up very quickly with Václav Janík and get ahead of the other I-30 quickly in the process. Václav Janík definitely has no motivation to let Bartosz Groszek through. If anything, he might actually be helping Petr Semerád. If Bartosz Groszek goes through, I believe, then we will see Petr Semerád following suit really closely and really quickly as well. So there is still everything to play for. We've only done 6 minutes of this race, and it's already got interesting on more than one occasion so far. Bartosz Groszek now slipstreaming behind Václav Janík, lining up for a move, diving down the inside into the right-hander. Bartosz Groszek is through. Václav Janík will not make big problems for Petr Semerád as well. So now Petr Semerád is also ahead of Václav Janík. That was definitely expected. And now the championship contenders are side by side of one another yet again, and lining for another fight. Petr Semerád all over the back end of that Audi. Through the last two right-handers they go, and onto the start and finish straight. There Petr Semerád definitely has an advantage of better top speed of his Hyundai i30. So Bartosz Groszek has to make absolutely sure that he makes absolutely perfect exits. They are now fighting one another along the pit straight. Still Bartosz Groszek holding the key advantage. This is going to be absolutely dramatic and a very hard job for the Polish driver, who is going to become the Eastern European TCR champion of 2022. This is still yet to be decided, and there is really nothing to choose between these two drivers. Either one of them can be the champion in this race and in this season. Bartosz Groszek crucially staying ahead. We do suspect that due to the slight disadvantage on the top speed on the straights, if he falls behind Petr Semerád, he's definitely going to have it really difficult to actually get himself back. So he absolutely needs to make his Audi as wide as possible and be as clever as possible in his defense, not to let Petr Semerád through. Sebastian Steibl also getting himself into the mix, and he is now troubling Václav Janík. So if Václav Janík wanted to probably get some popcorn and coke or whatever and enjoy a flat screen TV show, right, developing in front of him for the title, he is now going to get disturbed by another spectator. Petr Semerád slowing down. What is happening with Petr Semerád? Petr Semerád is slowing down. Something's wrong with the i30 there, and he is now down 2 places. He's now entering the pits. This is unbelievable. Petr Semerád is having technical trouble, and he is now returning back into the pits, which will hand the championship to Bartosz Groszek. Absolutely unbelievable stuff there. This is not what we wanted to see, because we were really hoping for an exciting battle for the championship all the way to the last lap, all the way to the last corner, but we are going to get robbed of that. Bartosz Groszek is definitely not really going to complain about that one, but he is now -1 main championship rival, minus Petr Semerád, because Petr Semerád has entered the pits with some sort of trouble, and that is now race and game over for Petr Semerád. So the only chance for him now is if anything absolutely crazy happens to Bartosz Groszek. Bartosz Groszek can now not finish the race for Petr Semerád to still be handing the title, but that would really have to be crazy and possibly even very dirty. We still have got Václav Janík following Bartosz Groszek very closely, but I'm not really expecting Václav Janík to do anything stupid, let's say, in this title fight. But this is now one-way biased. The pendulum has now swept very clearly on the Aditis Racing's Bartosz Groszek side. Well, as much as we were hoping for something dramatic to happen in this race, this is not exactly what I had in mind. And had it been either one of the two, Bartosz or Petr, both of them would have been definitely a deserved champions, because this has been an absolutely staggering season up until now. But we definitely don't want to see such a anticlimactic finale and it being decided by technical problems. And they came at the worst possible moment for Petr Semerád. He was lining up for a move on Bartosz Groszek so many times, and he appeared to have a superior pace. However, Bartosz was staging a beautiful, beautiful defensive there, and we really had a beautiful championship fight on our hands, but that is now completely going undone. And Bartosz Groszek, he now simply needs to bring the car home to be crowned the 2022 Eastern European TCR champion. What a disaster for Petr Semerád. Bartosz Groszek now holding on to second, Václav Janík in third, Sebastian Steibl in fourth, Petr Čížek up to fifth from Žarko Knego, and then car number 34, that's Adam Řepecký in the older generation Audi RS3. Beats Mejkal in 9th from Tomáš Řepecký in his VW Golf in 10th. And Petr Semerád now forced into the pits. And we are only approaching the halfway mark of this race. Petr Fulín dominating proceedings so far, having started 10th. He's definitely enjoying exactly what he set out to do this weekend, and that means simply show everybody that if he wants, if he can, if the car is well prepared, then he can simply destroy the competition, which is exactly what he did in qualifying, what he did in yesterday's race. And yes, Groszek and Semerád were way more focused on their respective championship fight up until now, but still Petr Fulín, he was through really quickly. He made a good start, he made a good progress through the field, past the championship contenders, and he's now having a race of his own. Petr Semerád still in the pits, and his Hyundai is not going anywhere. There's not even a point for him to actually come back to the racetrack, because that's game over for Petr Semerád. And really, the only chance for him to still win the title, because still he is the championship leader, still he is 1 point ahead of Bartosz Groszek. But something terrible would have to happen to Bartosz Groszek, be it a technical problem or a crash. None of that we definitely wish to Bartosz Groszek. Just stating that that's the only thing that can now hand the title to Petr Semerád. But Bartosz Groszek, he knows full well now what he needs to do. I guess he has noticed in his rearview mirrors that that's what's happened. Also, he would have been informed by his team, and he knows full well that that's not Petr Semerád currently following him on the track. It's Václav Janík who's now diving down the inside, trying to make a move. But Bartosz Groszek shut the door there. Janík was not close enough. Steibl still sniffing a chance of scoring one final podium in the 22 season. We've got just under 11 minutes left from this race, and it's suddenly become way more calm and way less dramatic than it was shaping up to be in the opening, say, 10 minutes. And what a race it was up until that point, really. We had no idea who would be the one to be able to become the champion. Groszek was doing very well in his defense, protecting the second place. Well, that is now the second place. But Semeral was definitely showing a superior pace. And on multiple occasions, he was able to actually put Bartosz Groszek under pressure, and that would have been a title decider. But that is now just the history. And Bartosz Groszek is circulating around the track. Well, still, this is not a peaceful Sunday drive now. And anyway, he still wants to defend that second place from Václav Janík, but it's not actually that important anymore. Václav Janík diving down the inside and putting his I-30 back into second. That was a clean move by Václav. And he is now moving ahead of Bartosz Groszek. Bartosz Groszek still holding on to that last podium place. And we also see Petr Cížek in the distance, getting closer and closer to the podium fight. That would be also very beautiful for the local driver, for Petr Cížek. Yes, he lost his mathematical chances earlier on this weekend, but he took second in yesterday's race. And if he can finish the season with another podium, then that would be a great reward for his and his team's efforts. So fully leading already by around about 9 seconds from Janík. And look at that, Bartosz Groszek struggling for pace. Sebastian Steibl diving down the inside, and he is through. Bartosz Groszek not really fighting very hard. He knows that he has to bring this home to become the champion. Sebastian Steibl, he is fighting for that one race glory, definitely. The podium for him is definitely something very desired and very wanted. Also Petr Cížek coming close. They are now going to come across the finish line one more time. So fully in ahead by nearly 10 seconds from Václav Janík. Sebastian Steibl further 2 seconds down the road. Groszek and Petr Cížek in close contention behind him. So through the chicane they go. It would definitely be nice for Groszek to actually wrap up the title decider by finishing on the podium, but it is not absolutely necessary, and the title is definitely going to be more and going to be worth more than the single race glory. Bartosz Groszek holding on to meaningful places, and he can even drop behind Petr Cížek. That would still hand him the title. Petr Fulín still leading from Janík, who is now finding himself alone in second, which I believe that is not really making Václav uncomfortable. If anything, this is what is actually his good idea of the perfect Sunday drive. A victory would have been even nicer, that is for sure, but second on the road and nicely fought against Bartosz Groszek. That's definitely going to be the one to remember for Václav Janík. Sebastian Steibl in third. He did miss out on the podium yesterday. He was fast in qualifying. Suddenly the old Cupras are really fast this weekend with the new settings to their engines compared to other cars. And Steibl is suddenly flying. And the German driver, he put his car on the front row in quali. The only other driver, or the only driver that he was no match for, was this guy, Petr Furin. And then Steibl was holding on to second actually for a large portion of yesterday's race, but then made a slight mistake and allowed 3 drivers through in the process. So he was 5th on the road, 6th on the grid today, but made good efforts and good progress, and he is now fighting for a podium to wrap up the season with. Adam Řepecký having a fight of his own with Žarko Knego, that's for 6th. Behind them, Radim Adamek, he has made his way up into 8th. After those opening lap misfortunes that put him into the gravel, exiting the opening chicane. And we are now just less than 4 minutes away from the absolute season's end. That was Radim Adamek enjoying himself in 8th, and actually now trying to fight back and catch up with these 2 drivers. So Knego holding on to 6th from Adam Řepecký, and Radim Adamek trying to get closer, and he's been actually setting his personal best lap times lately. So on the previous lap, Knego did 1:43.3, Řepecký 1:43.2, and Radim Adamek 1:42.2, so he's a full second per lap faster than the drivers in front of him. And this is another interesting fight. Bartosz Groszek now definitively lost his fight to Sebastian Steibl, and he is now trying to defend from Petr Čížek. Petr Čížek with his car slightly damaged on the front right corner, and trying to gain 1 further place. This is for 4th in the race, under 3 minutes from home. Ooh, but the Čížek made a rather wide exit of the last corner, and Adam Řepecký having a go on Žarko Knego through the last corner. This will also allow Radim Adamek into this fight. He's trying to choose the inside line, not to drive through that dust there, to actually have a clean view ahead. And they are now braking into the opening chicane. Ooh, Adamek outbraking himself, and he has to cut the chicane and go straight through. So that was not good from Radim Adamek. He will definitely have to let these 2 drivers through. Adam Řepecký having a excursion across the grass of his own. He does not seem to be wanting to come back onto the track now. So these 2 Audis, yeah, what is now going on? The track marshals must be actually rather confused by this. There's just black and grey and yellow highlighted Audis everywhere. None of them choosing to drive on the track. And now it seems that Adamek is through on Řepecký. And this has also taken all the pressure off Knego. There is Groszek. Still fighting for it. He still, even though this hands him the title, he does not want to simply let everybody through and wave everybody through. He's still trying to fight for it, however, that Audi simply lacks the pace. And we are on the final tour of 2022 in the Eastern European TCR. We are only 4 kilometers away from welcoming the 4th different and 4th new Eastern European TCR champion. And it's looking more and more likely that it's going to be Bartosz Groszek. I definitely do not want to wish anything bad on him, but really a piece of terrible luck, would now have to strike to rob Bartosz Groszek of the title. Petr Fulin, he's been enjoying the home weekend, and he is going to take what he came for. Not only all possible victories, all possible fastest laps, but absolute and total dominance of the home round of the Eastern European TCR. So he's shown the world that he still has what it takes to be incredibly fast in the touring car racing. Petr Fulin, he's done it, and he's an absolute and undisputed king of Autodrom Most this weekend in the Eastern European TCR. Václav Janík fought beautifully and crucially made a nice move on Bartosz Groszek in the latter stages of the race, and he's coming home in second. Sebastian Steibel is going to be third, but Bartosz Groszek is the new Eastern European TCR champion. Bartosz Groszek has done it. It's only P4, it's under the podium, but it absolutely does not matter to him and to the team. Aditis Racing have also done that. They are the champions. Well, to be absolutely clear, the team champion fight was already wrapped up yesterday, and it's Janík Motorsport that's the winner of the team championship standings. But the driver's crown goes to Bartosz Groszek and Aditis Racing team.